Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Create Your Joy podcast with your hosts, Shruti Goel, self love and empowerment coach, and Ivania Liang, mindset coach. And this week, we have a very interesting song, a popular song that we want to share with you and dive into its lyrics and hopefully create a different perspective for our audience. And Ivania, why don't you introduce us to this song?
Oh my God, I can see my face like I'm smiling so much because this song comes with a lot of energy. Like
Yes.
literally, like I can just remembering the song in my head, it brings all the energy out of me. And you know what? This song is by Imagine Dragons,
Yeah.
and the name of the song is Believer. And I chose this song because, I heard it a long time ago when I was younger, but, I was more impacted by the music.
Yeah.
And it's not that I listened to the lyrics so much. I would probably just pick a few words and that would stay on my mind. And of course I do like their music. And but now, because I'm in a different state of mind, now because I'm older, now because I have started my spiritual journey, now it makes sense why I was drawn to that song. And not only that, but I was able to, I want to say, rewrite my narrative, because when I heard it, I was going through something, that I wanted something to give me the strength in a way. And also the music, the sound of it on the back, it is so powerful that it brings that, I want to say, like the strength that you have inside, that you don't know how much strength you have, and it brings your end forward. But anyway, let me just go into the lyrics so I can share,
Love it.
or what I'm talking about. So on that first verse, it says, "First things first." I love just the beginning of it. Already says, okay, let's just first things first. Let's stop, reflect, and let me start. I love that. And it says, "I'm say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up and tired of the way things has been."
Yeah.
The way that things has been. Second, don't tell me what you think that I could be. I'm the one at the cell. I'm the master of my sea. The master of my sea. So, I don't remember this back then when I heard it the first time, but now, like, I have a different mindset. I have a different perspective of the song. When I listen to it again, it's a beautiful to see that when we tire of something, of what we challenges or the situations, or we can name whatever we're tired of.
Yeah.
And then it says, okay, let's stop. Let me start from the beginning. I am tired. And then he follow up and say, I am tired that you telling me what I could be.
Yeah.
Right. And he says, I am the one at the cell. Like, he's the master of his sea. And also here, I really like it because when we feel tired of it, we start listening to our higher voice. We start listening to our higher self. And what is the higher self is telling us? What is my wise voice telling me?
Yeah.
That you can make a choice, that you have the right, that if you don't like the situation, you can move forward. That if you don't like it, that someone is telling you all the time who you need to be in order to be loved, or in order to be understood, in order to be able to be part of the clique, and able to be part of in anything. So I really love this conversation within himself and saying, no, stop. And then and to me, it's really, really nice And not only that, he wants to share it. He's actually verbalizing,
Right.
which one of the things that is really helpful for anyone is like when we don't like something, when we do not agree, or especially when we're tired of it, it's good to verbalize it to whoever needs to hear it. But once you start verbalizing, then you started to believe it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What is your take on this couple of sentences?
Well, so first, I can definitely resonate with you in that when I was younger, so this is a song that I always found very invigorating. You were right in saying that it has this energy. And when I was younger, I felt that I resonated with it when I felt frustrated with the way the world was around me. I'm someone that has been brought up with a lot of social justice, principles, and kind of looking at the world from a viewpoint that there's fairness in the world. And as a younger person, I was often frustrated that the world was not fair. And but now when you and I talked about this song, I felt as though I got a completely different perspective, having been through some painful situations, having been through some more of life. I too find that I have a different perspective on this song. And in fact, this time when I listened to it, I actually found it invigorating in a different way. Like it gave me energy. So it was a valuable reminder of the fact, and I love this line in the first two verses, that I'm the one at the sail. There's something about that line that just felt so empowering. And the fact that he says, I'm the master of my own sea, and this idea that when our emotional world feels challenging, it's like you're in a ship in choppy seas, in choppy water. And if you can still say that I'm captain of the ship, then you'll get through the choppy waters. The challenges will not last forever. So anyway, so I really like what you said here. And the other thing that really resonated with me is when you said to verbalize that you're tired of the way things are. And that's such an important thing that in our culture, in our societies, especially for women, we're not really supposed to verbalize when we're upset with something. And in fact, many of us would probably judge someone for saying, they might say that the person is complaining, when that's not the case. They're actually acknowledging a deep truth for them. And if you can acknowledge it rather than go into denial, then you can do something about it. And so that goes along with, like, that's the first step. Acknowledge it, see the label on the jar. So I really enjoyed your analysis of it. And coming into now this next part, which says, I was broken from a young age, taking my sulk into the masses, writing my poems for the few that look at me, took to me, shook at me, feeling me. And just even these first 4 lines here really are heartbreaking, that he's acknowledging the pain that he has endured from a young age, and the fact that he started pouring those words out in the form of poetry that that spoke to just some of the people. He wasn't trying to become famous or anything. He just wanted to get his feelings out. Singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through and then pain, of course, is how the chorus begins. So and of course this is so poignant, singing from heartache. This idea that he's basically giving voice to his pain, um, and kind of transmuting it in the process, taking my message from the veins, just really reaching deep inside himself as a person to express what he's going through. And then that speaking my lesson from the brain, that's something I can appreciate as, an older, wiser person now. That yes, sometimes the lesson takes a while for our brain to process and crystallize, which is what we discuss as crystallized wisdom. which comes with age. You have to have been through some experiences first. Seeing the beauty through the pain. This one actually brings tears to my eyes every time I read it or hear this line, because it is one of the most difficult things as a human being in our conditioning to overcome, is when we are in pain of some sort, especially emotional pain, to still be able to see the world as the beautiful place that it is, even though we are in this moment suffering. And I just feel like this shows the signs of someone that has done some spiritual work on themselves, to be able to see the pain and still see the beauty. And of course, this is the most famous part of the song, which is now the chorus. Pain, you made me a believer. And I pondered over this because, of course, I loved that word believer. And I wondered, well, what does it mean to me to hear this word believer? And I think for me, it was reflecting back on all of the difficulties that I went through in my young adulthood, as a young adult, finding my own way and reinventing who I was professionally and personally every few years, that it made me a believer of myself. It made me a believer of the fact that I am guided through this life. And it made me a believer that, yes, the challenges arise, but I live through them. I find a way through. And again, you break me down, you build me up. And isn't that such a profound message, that the pain not only breaks you down, but it also, the more you break down, the deeper you go into that suffering and you emerge with a new strength that you didn't have before. So just like when you're working out, when you want to build muscle, first you have to break down the muscle, and then it builds up stronger than before. My life, my love, my drive, it came from pain. And in this case, for many, many people, when they begin to make changes in their life, important changes, they are often linked to pain that they had experienced previously. And again, it continues. And I think, again, it's so significant, Ivani, every time we see a song where they're repeating the same word, and this idea like believer, but in a very enlightened sense of the word, and not just like blindly following someone else. So to me, it's a much more pure definition, where it's you're believing in your self-worth, you're believing in your ability to move forward in life. So anyway, that's the chorus. And I'm just so curious to hear your take on this, because your perspective sharing actually changed my viewpoint on this song when I heard it this time around.
Yeah. You know what? I said it to me, like you said, like this song, it comes so powerful, especially also with the music on the back.
Yeah.
It's like it's pulling you and making sure that you remember.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you what, because when it said I was broken from a young age, when I hear that, it for me, it's talking of your inner child.
Yeah.
It's recognizing, acknowledging that it's not the person at this moment, but the person that it was as an inner child, how we always, or most of the time, because we're growing, we have whatever under circumstances we are at some point we have this pain and we get broken. So he's like trying to save from the inner child to bring it out, to rewrite their narrative, which is very important. And also one that it says, writing my poems for the few. And I really also like that, because it's talking to people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
That is able to understand that poem, like you really called it a poem, because it's to me it's very poetic.
Yeah.
And I really like that, because it's always, to me, this conversation is like the higher self and the lower self having this conversation. Like, yeah, when I was a child, I was broken, and then the higher self comes in and tells you, yes, how can we make it better?
Yeah.
What did you learn from it? you know. And also another one that when it says singing from my heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain. When I read this, to me, it was the way we view or we receive our lessons. This is the mindset. He's flipping it. Instead of become a victim, instead of saying, oh, why me? What does it happen to me? Why am I deserving this? It's not focusing too much on that. It's focusing like from pain. From my veins. When I hear my vein, it's because the blood runs in through it.
Exactly.
And when we're tired of it, you know, our heartbeats start raising up. So the blood start rushing up. So the message coming from within.
Yeah.
Not just spiritually, but physically. It's acting up. And I really like that one. And especially when it says, seeing the beauty through the pain. This is a mindset. It's because he's seeing it, what he learned or what we learned. And to me, the pain, there's one quote that I would like to share with all of you. Maybe some of you already heard it from the Dalai Lama. The pain is unavoidable. But suffering is a choice.
Wow.
When I had to hear that quote many times to understand what it means.
Yeah.
Because pain is part of life. And we see it physically when the babies are growing up, when the bones are stretching or, you know, growing, it's pain in there. Yeah. You talked about your tooth. Remember that it was falling out your tooth and it was painful.
Yeah.
But what happened? You got a better tooth.
Exactly.
And right? So pain, when we hear pain, most of the time we look at it as a negative.
Right.
So we have to change our mindset into what are we learning from that pain. And not compare it with suffering, because suffering is a choice. And that's why I really like this song, because it's just giving you different point of views where he had to grow.
Right.
And it's like for us, like I can give an example, like for myself, like the parts that I need to grow is when first I have to leave, you know, I have to move to the US.
Right.
That was pain, leaving my country. And then from there I have to leave LA to go to Hong Kong. Right. And live in a new country. Yeah. And that was pain. And then from Hong Kong to New York. Yeah. But that's only pain in a sense, like, what am I leaving behind? Right. That with growing is painful. And then we go back into relationship. That the pain that you don't want to leave that person, or that pain that that person left you when you have, you know, like a broken heart, is painful. But then we overcome it. But then we have a good outlook. So we have to change our perspective, our mindset, and see what benefit comes into it. Yeah. And all those challenges that we face at the same time is painful. Yeah. But having the right mindset and loving yourself, you know, will help you. And then let's continue with the song, because I can just go on and on and on. Oh my God. Those are the points that I wanted to take, that I wanted to say, and I didn't want to leave those things out.
Yeah, no, well said. And Ivania, I love the quote, especially that you shared. And something that I learned differently from that quote, because I had heard it over the years as well, is now I kind of interpret it to mean that suffer only once. You know, when the initial pain is happening, just suffer at that time. And every other time after that, when you think on that incident, don't just stay inside the pain, but rather witness that situation and see what wisdom you can extract from it for the future. And so that you can always look back at the event but not suffer again and again as you move forward in life. And I really think that that's a powerful message in all of this. So then continuing with the next verse, it says, third things third, send a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove, your spirit up above. Now, this particular verse, I still find somewhat perplexing. And the reason is because we typically think of saying, send a prayer, pray for the people that are here on earth, right? Because we say that once someone has passed away, they go back to the source. They go back to God or universe or however we want to say this. And so we typically don't say send a prayer to the ones up above. So how I'm interpreting it from sort of that self-love and empowerment perspective is, in fact, kind of, in a sense, say a prayer to the parts of us that think about the higher good. So, for example, in self-love and empowerment work, that's typically like when we do a visualization to meet your wise self for the first time. That is one of my favorite activities to do with clients. Because again, the voice of our intuition is usually so faint, we're not used to hearing it.
Mhm.
And so that's how I'm interpreting this particular verse, is send a prayer to the ones up above, meaning find a way to connect with that wise self within you. All the hate that you have heard has turned your spirit to a dove. And what happens is, sometimes how I'm interpreting this is, from all of the negativity that surrounds you, your spirit basically flies up into the brain, flies up into our mind. And that's how I've found many of us, including myself, existed before I started doing spiritual work. And I would say, even, it doesn't have to be called spiritual work necessarily. It's just inner work, connecting with
Mhm.
our inner self. Before I did that work, I had so much sort of nervous energy and anxiety that I constantly was only in my mind. If someone asked me, how are you feeling? I truly didn't know. It was a blank. And so this is how I'm interpreting this. All that hate that you've heard kind of turns your spirit into a dove, in the sense that you become sort of flighty. You run away from wanting to be embodied, from wanting to be here. And your spirit up above. So again, this idea that you want to focus on this connection deep within you. I was choking in the crowd. This is the next part. I was choking in the crowd, building my rain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground. And for this verse, I really just think that what it makes me resonate with are the times when I felt like I was part of a big group, but I felt like I didn't belong. So I may have, thought that somehow belonging to a group would give me an identity, and it didn't. So I was choking from the pressures of belonging to that group, um, and building my rain up in the cloud, in the sense that the suffering got worse and worse. And I almost feel like it's setting us up to see a spiritual awakening. For some people, they
Yeah.
really have to have those difficult moments before they fall like ashes to the ground, meaning that your ego just gets destroyed and you fall to the ground. Hoping my feelings they would drown. And this line just resonates with me so much, because for how many years I wanted to do anything but feel my feelings. I wanted
Mhm.
to eat them away. I wanted to drown them in the sound of television or music. I wanted to run away from them. And yet now I take a very different approach, where it's not about drowning out your feelings, but rather paying attention to them for the signals that they are from within you.
Yeah.
Hoping my feelings they would drown, but they never did. And isn't this the truth? When we try to drown them, they just, kind of hide under the surface, but they just keep
Mhm.
collecting. And someday that pressure just, explodes, and all of them come out in a tumble. And that's a way in which some people survive, but it is not a healthy way, and it doesn't make us feel good, and it takes us away from being a human being. It turns us into a human doing, a person that's just doing things but not reflecting, not really being present in their life. So it says, but they never did, ever lived ebbing and flowing, because again, you're trying to go against your own nature, which is that your feelings will ebb and flow. And none of it is the truth. It is just true in that moment. So feel it and move through the experience rather than running away. Inhibited, limited till it broke open and rained down. It rained down like, and of course it starts the chorus again, pain. It rained down like pain. And that is very true. This is exactly how it happens, is you reach kind of a point of no return. And at that point, you're feeling that inhibition, that limitation, that frustration of being stuck, and it breaks open. And sometimes it is physical pain. Sometimes it's physical illness that brings someone into a spiritual awakening. Other times it's a situation that's totally out of their control. And it rains down like pain, but that's what turns someone into a believer. So I'll pause
Yes.
there, and I'm so curious to hear, because these lines here are gold when it comes
Oh
to
my God.
reminders about how to live.
Yeah, and you know what? Just before I continue and give you my my take on it, there was a line where after pain on the chorus, and the first chorus that we forgot to mention, it says, "Oh, I let the bullets fly, or let them rain. My life, my love, my drive, they came from pain. You a believer. And you know what? I just really briefly, I wanted to touch on that because it's part of the chorus. Of course, it will says it again, but when it says, taking the metaphors of bullets flying, because I think like I take the bullets, meaning the challenges in life,
Yeah.
the obstacles in life. It could be also be like you mentioned, illness.
Yeah.
It could be, any kind of illness.
Right.
And it said, and when he said, let it come.
Yeah.
Let it rain in my life. Let it rain in my love. Let it drive in my drive. And they came from pain. So he understands, that he's ready, because he knows that from pain, his belief will be stronger and solid. And also, I even want to tell you, in his faith on himself.
Yeah.
And it's like when your lower self has a better understanding of listening to your wise voice, when you have your intuition more asserted, like you understand them more. It's like you understand that whatever comes to you, you'll be able to face it.
Yeah.
Like you said, acknowledge it, face it, and overcome it.
Yeah.
And at the end, you will have even a lesson that you have learned.
Right.
And then to me, this is very beautiful. And we always talk about the chorus because it's like a mantra,
Yeah.
or an affirmation, or you can call it whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's something that you're talking to yourself and you're ingraining it into your subconscious.
Yes.
Because the more you ingrain it, is the blueprint that will come first when you face a challenge.
Well said.
And also when you say third, send a prayer to the ones above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to dove. And your spirit up above. When I hear this, I think it's very, when you said send a prayer, it's like, let's get all together.
Yeah.
Because there's no one person in this earth that has never been in pain.
Right.
So to be, it's a collective prayer.
Right.
That becomes one and stronger. So let's just send up prayers to the ones above.
Yeah.
Because we understand that whoever passes away had pain before.
Right.
in some way, in some form. And it said, and whatever hate they received or that they heard, it has turned them to a better person when they were living, or it turned them into a dove, which is, we, like you said it, we go back to the source, we go back to where we came from. And there's no hate there.
Right.
There's not even a word for that. So I think he's just focusing in that, and that's the way I see it. And it's just spirit, it's just spirit. And this is what it means to me when it says, like, talking to your higher self, you're able to see that there's no hate. And the thing is that people are hating is because there's something with them.
Right.
And it snowballs from there.
Yeah.
But it's like the work. And of course, mindset, self-love, empowerment comes in.
Exactly.
To strengthen yourself. And I said, I was choking in the crowd, building my brain up to the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings that will be drowned. Right. And when you were reading this thing, it is so right, because we try to hide it. Right. We try to say, oh no, I'm strong, I can deal with it. I just put it under the rug. But so it's showing up in different ways in different parts of your life. And of course, it has to come out some way, somehow. Right. But like you said, if we're able to acknowledge the pain, if we're able to acknowledge the challenge, don't stay there too long. Give yourself a few minutes, give yourself a day, but always try to move forward, because there's a way to move forward. And it goes back to the pain. And there's when he sings the pain, when the singer sings it, like, all the power, it's in the pain. Yeah. But it's not the pain that is living at the moment, but what he has learned from that pain. Right. And it's like, don't be afraid of the pain. Right. It's letting us know not to be afraid. Because we've been in pain, and we're going to be in pain. Yeah. And make it into a friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can add something here, I think you touched on something really important that I was thinking of as well about pain, which is that he's almost giving us a way to kind of make friends with pain. One of the most strongest sort of instincts of a human being is that, and we're conditioned with this, with our reflexes, right? Is when these are automatic responses, meaning our conscious thought is often not even involved. When we encounter pain, the automatic response is to run away from it. And yet, if you have done enough inner work to overcome that automatic conditioning, then you don't have to run away. And especially a lot of the pain that we encounter in our life, frankly, is of the emotional kind, And so the reflexes that we use to avoid physical pain, it's okay to honor those. That makes sense. You don't want to touch a hot stove. But when we try to apply that same thought process to our emotional pain, that's what leads to emotional scarring and emotional wounds that people carry around in their bodies and hearts for a long time. So I feel like, in a way, with this song, he's sort of making you a believer in the power of self-inquiry, in a way, to dare to face the pain and sit with it like a friend, emotional pain in particular. Yes. And I love that, because in the other verse, he talks about how all the things he has tried with his feelings to push them down, and they don't work. The only thing that ever works is to face that pain. So as you were talking about it, it just really strongly spoke to me. And I thought that I'd add that part here. And thanks again for kind of giving your perspective on this, because again, with the spirit above part, and the dove part, it was very different how you experienced it versus how I experienced it. So, and I just want to encourage our audience to, come up with your own unique perspective here. And again, like and subscribe to us if you like this episode and our podcast. We're always happy to share and create our joy by being here with you.
Yeah, and one thing also that came up to me when you were saying like make friends,
Yeah.
and because it says it make me a believer. It's a believer, but I love what the word is saying to me, because it's a believer of yourself,
Right.
a believer of your power, a believer that look at your pain, what you've gone through already, and where you're at now. Look the difference. Look, now we're rewriting that narrative. Now let's look what we learned back then. Now let's reflect.
Yeah.
What is pain has, what the pain made you learn. Because now we start to shift our mindset and look at it as pain.
Yeah.
Not that we're saying, oh, we want pain, we want pain. We're not saying that.
No.
By saying when the pain comes, the challenges of life comes, you'll be able to look at it in a different way, a different lens, and a lens when you're strong, you've been here before,
Right.
Maybe not the same situation, but the same feelings.
Right.
Then let's see how we're able to move forward.
Yeah.
What are things that I can do to move forward?
Exactly.
And that's why I really like that, because we go back to the core, because it's trying to me, it's trying to put it in your subconscious.
Yeah.
So your subconscious will help you. Your subconscious will come through because, oh no, we've been here. How can we do this? Oh, maybe we could do this. Or maybe we could do that. The pain, okay, let's see what we can do.
Right.
And not, stay there for too long.
Right.
And then one of the last verses says, last thing last, by the grace of the fire and the flames, you are the face of the future.
Yeah.
The blood in my vein. The blood in my veins.
Yeah.
But they never did, ever lived, ever lied. At least it continued that little verse. But I want to talk about what it says, last thing last, by the grace of the fire and the flames, you are the face of the future.
Yeah.
This part, it hit me in a sense of acceptance. Accepting of the pain, not rejecting it,
right.
Not looking at it in a different way, but accepting it with grace, loving yourself with grace, with all your flaws.
Yeah.
And it says of the fire and the flames. Of course, there's a metaphor, but the way I take it is all the pain, all the challenges that you have faced.
Right.
If you receive it if you look at it with grace, we are the future,
right,
of that face, because it's the example that we leave behind.
Right.
It's the example that we show to our kids. It's the example that you live to your sisters. It's the example that you give to your friends. It's the example that you live to your community. You are the example. Every single one of us.
Wow.
And if you accept it with grace, we'll be able to move forward.
Right.
So, yes,
well said, Ivania. And I was going to say that something that struck me about this last verse is not only when he says you're the face of the future, but also the blood in my veins. And what that means to me is, in a way, when you do this work on yourself, it changes something fundamentally inside you. And it changes your internal kind of makeup in a way that then, let's say you turn around and have children, your kids will grow up with this resilience too, because now you have it. It's part of you. It's deep, like in the blood in your veins. And another thing that it makes me think of is what you were alluding to before, which was that it becomes second nature. It becomes something that is just a part of the way you exist in the world. And I love that. And the use of the word grace, that there's grace in the fire and the flames. It immediately, made me close my eyes and think of a phoenix, how a phoenix always arises from the ashes.
Mhm.
This mythical bird that has to first dissolve into ashes, but then it grows. Those ashes nurture it into existence again. And I think that's such an enduring metaphor and symbol for me
Mhm.
around this song is, listening to Believer and just thinking about the phoenix, how much, you can just um, grow from the challenges that actually break you down. And the last thing I wanted to share here is they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited till it broke open and rained down like pain. And
Yeah.
again, I think the reason why these lines are being repeated is just so significant. And I just want to add here that there's a reason why the first learnings that we have as kids when we're very young are all in song form. Think back to our nursery rhymes, think back to the ABC song. There is
Mhm.
power in songs to teach us through repetition. And it's one of the reasons why Ivania and I have chosen this as a method to reach to our audience, because songs are powerful and the lines that are repeated in them are so helpful for these neural connections that we're trying to build.
Mhm.
And if we build new neural connections, that means we're learning and growing. That learning and growing doesn't stop just because we stopped going to school, but rather now we're in the school of life. And pain is now our new teacher, and it's going to be with us for the rest of our life. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's actually a good
Mhm.
news story. So I wanted to just bring this part of the song to a close that way. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to share, Ivania.
I just wanted to add that when it's that believer, always believe in yourself. Always believe in you, work in yourself, and work in your deepest love with you. And that will make you a believer of yourself. You're not a believer of other people, but you're a believer of yourself first.
Well said.
Because if you know how powerful you are, we're not gonna know how powerful we're not gonna know how powerful we are because we evolving. But we start to see more confidence, a lot more power. Oh, I can do this, I can do that. Because that's gonna be a reflection to others.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna see that others have the same like you.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
when love comes in for all of us as one. So
well
that's
said.
what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I'll
Thank
just
you.
add that it's a new attunement. You're attuning to see the good inside you and others around you.
Mhm.
And the more you see the good in yourself first, that's how you begin to view the world outside as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that. And with that, what a powerful and invigorating song to discuss together. Ivania, I think you have changed my viewpoint on this song, and I'm so grateful to our partnership. I'm grateful that we get to share this with our audience, and we can't wait to connect with you all again soon.
Yeah. Continue creating your
Joy. Bye for now.
bye.